To me, this is just a huge piece of history, and I mean, Greenworld ends up becoming Enigma.
After Tom and I got Motley signed to Elektra, that made a huge difference to Greenworld because we were very hand-to-mouth and in danger of going under. And part of the deal was I got a check for $40,000 as a non-recoupable advance for Greenworld, which saved the company's ass. And then Greenworld also got 5 points on Too Fast for Love.
That's an incredible piece that I feel like I know every stinking thing about, especially the Motley Crue history by now. But you got a $40,000 check from residuals from Motley Crue, or just as a bonus?
That was from Elektra, and I will have no doubt that Elektra applied it to Motley's account.
Right.
And it was a buyout. We had them for 2 albums, and I thought that it was fair play that whatever royalty Greenworld got from Motley, that it was fair play to go, you know what, we'll keep it on the record we worked. We will not get a percentage of your next record, which I thought was a fair play. 5 points, yeah, that's a pretty good payment. Elektra are taking, 86 points or 88 points? You know, it's not that overwhelming. And you have some producers who demand 4 points. So I thought it fair enough that Greenworld got 5 points on Too Fast for Love.
No doubt. I mean, that's you still feel that way?
They made a lot of money on that. Huh?
You still feel that way, like you shouldn't have gotten a percentage of Shout at the Devil?
No, I thought it was the right decision. It's not a decision that I've ever second-guessed, or not a decision that I've thought was wrong. I thought it was absolutely fair. I thought it was an intelligent submission to make. So Greenworld got 40 grand and 5 points, and I sat down with the owners and I said, you know what? I run sales, I run marketing. I've just done your fucking Motley Crue project. I would like to be considered a partner of this company. And the people who own the company were people who I would suggest are those that love the idea of ownership more than that which they own. And they thought, no, we're the owners and you're just working for us. And I said, well, now I'm not. Fuck you, I'm leaving. Put one of them, Mark Wesley, into a panic. And a couple of days later, he comes to me and he says, how do you feel about starting a label that you can do and you can run, and we'll get somebody else in to do sales and marketing and so on, but you start a label and get it going? And I said, yes, since I had a habit of that from my Virgin days. And that was the start of Enigma. For the first 6 months of Enigma, I was the only person working Enigma in any way, shape or form. And there was no underwriting. The arrangement was I kept getting my modest wage, and when I had something signed, they would print a certain number of records for me, and if I could sell those records, by that means I could finance Enigma and get it going. So that was the start of Enigma.
So when you're presented the album, they've already released it on their Leather Records, Too Fast for Love?
They had done an initial pressing of a few hundred records. I took those and then started pressing our Greenworld Leather Records.
But no remixing or adding tracks or fixing of anything, released as is, right?
No, what the fuck are we going to do? We had no money. I mean, we came up, we ran our hands down the back of the sofas at home, and we came up with $15,000 to sign Motley, and that put us right at the waterline.
And the $15,000 went to just printing up albums?
No, the $15,000 went in their pockets, in Alan Coffman's pocket.
A question I've always had that I never could really track down with Alan Coffman is that, of course, there was a falling out and rumor that he had ripped them off, but is that where the ripoff comes from? Or did he have much more ripping off to do?
I don't know. There's a contemporary phrase used these days where people talk about having receipts, which I understand as having documented proof thereof. What I do know is that Alan Coffman got the $15,000 from us, and I did get a phone call from Mick Mars one night, and he said, can you meet me for a drink? And as I recall, I think I met him at the Cheesecake Factory down in Redondo Beach. And he wanted to ask me about the contract and the money. So I sat there and I said, I'm not sure that this is appropriate conversation, but let me tell you, Mick, here's what the contract says. And we paid your manager $15,000. So obviously Mick was looking for something.
Did you meet Alan back then?
Oh, he would come down weekly to Greenworld, and he would wear this sort of tan brown polyester suit and rent a Lincoln Continental to impress us that, the manager was coming down in his big Lincoln car. And it kind of amused me because, at Greenworld, everybody wore whatever they wanted to wear every day. There was no sense of corporate style or discipline in that respect at Greenworld. When I first started working there, the kids who were supposed to be working hard were sitting around in the lobby listening to records and smoking dope. It was a very casual operation when I set foot in the door.
Did he continue after Motley Crue? Because I never really can find any information on him.
As soon as they got signed to Elektra, he was gone.
So they fired him as soon as they got signed.
Yep, and that was well in the cards. Suffice it to say that Tom and I did not tell Alan about Tom or Elektra, to the point where they were playing the Glendale Civic, if I remember correctly. And I brought Tom along as my wife's cousin. Now, my wife then was Swedish, so Tom, with his looks, his name suit out, was accepted as my wife's American cousin. And this is Tom getting a chance to take a look at the band. And that's how secret we kept it. Motley didn't know, Alan didn't know. But when Tom and I had the deal in place, I called Coffman and I said, you ought to go to this address, which was Elektra. You ought to walk in there, and the only fucking thing that you fucking say is yes to everything. Because he'd been into every record label pretty much in town and, projected what he thought a manager should be, and being brash and obnoxious and clearly exhibiting he didn't know what he was doing. Nobody was looking to sign dinosaur bands, as they were called in those days, and he was shown the door everywhere. So the last fucking thing that Tom and I wanted was for Alan to go swanning into Elektra and fucking pull our house of cards down. So everything was in place before he and the band were told.
Partly he's an investor.
I have no receipts on that. My understanding was that he was basically related to Mick in some way, and that he had put some money into the band and helped them get the record done.
I think I even interviewed Vicky Hamilton at some point, and she said something like he ripped her off as well. And then nobody seems to know what the hell happened to him afterwards.
Well, God bless Vicky. If I'm correct, she is a West Virginia mama, and you don't fuck with women from West Virginia. However, I hate to say this, but she did not invent the 80s, although if you read her Wikipedia page, it would appear that she did. And my first meeting with her was when she was working at Licorice Pizza, and very kindly, she let me put up Motley Crue posters way at the back of the store, which she didn't have to do. And believe you me, all the major labels would be wanting all the wall space. But bless her heart, and maybe it was the English accent, but she let me put up some Motley Crue posters at the back of Licorice Pizza, the one that used to be opposite the Tower Sunset. And the next I heard of her was that somehow she and Coffman had crossed paths, and that Coffman said, my assistant has this great idea. She wants to photograph the band running around the Coliseum being chased by girls, and we make a poster, Too Fast for Love. And I looked at Alan and I said, well, that's a wonderful idea. You can keep it to yourself, and I don't need to hear from your assistant. Hearing from you is enough.